property that it, or same amount of money that it did last year, I'm gonna be paying less in taxes because the millage rate is 4.794 instead of 5.160. Now, if they increased, which they did, my property is now, instead of $150,000, it assesses for $180,000. So my millage rate on $180,000 at 4.794 is still going to be around the same amount of money that I paid last year at 5.160, but I'm not paying the 5.160, which would have been an increase.
So two different entities are using the same meaning, but they're just using different terms.
Maybe different terminology, yeah. But yeah, I mean, you have to think about it in terms of where individuality of it, because some people it may be a decrease in millage, it may be a decrease in taxes, and some people it may be your flush. And then if some people have a really big increase, their taxes may still be just a little bit more, depending on, you got a piece of property out there that's not been taxed, but on land for 3 or 4 or 5 years, but it actually had a house on it. Now that they've got a house on it, this 4.794, their taxes are going to be much higher this year, even at the 4.794, because last year, year before that, or year before that, they were just being taxed on land.
So basically, it's going to be the percentage of the worth of your property.
Exactly.
It's dropping. So whatever you want to say is either
Anyway,
roll back or decrease. If you still own $200,000 worth of property, the percentage of the tax you're paying on that is dropping.
It's dropping. Correct.
Anyone else got any? Yeah, John?
Do we have firm numbers on how big the tax digest is yet?
Yes.
It seems premature to me that you'd be discussing
Yes. The tax
changing the millage rate until we know what the digest is actually going to be.
You're exactly right. You can't do that. That's what we've been waiting on for all of this time.
Yeah.
We've got the digest. The digest is in. And
Not approved, but we have it.
Right. This is what, well.
You've got a preliminary digest. You've got some number you're working from.
This digest will go for, this will be the one that we take down to Atlanta. This is what our whole premise is on this digest that they've been working on. They had the cutoff date and said, okay, we've done all the reassessment we can do. We've got, we still got a lot of work to do, but we've got to cut it off somewhere. We've cut it off here, and here's our digest. Ms. Sosby brought it over to me and said, okay, Rita, here's your numbers to work off. This is what the tax assessors have given me. This is where their compilation of the digest, and the total digest that we're working off of is $1,500,298,373.
And 134 million is roughly a 10% or
and that,
1% increase in that.
Yeah.
Okay. One other question, Bill.
Yes, sir.
What was the urgency to have a called meeting to discuss this when we have a regular commission meeting 3 business days away?
I've got to get this in the paper. I've got to get it in our legal organ. I'm sorry, and you asked Bill that question.
No, go ahead.
You've answered my question.
She's got to put it,
I have to get it to
So in other words, this is all Brian's fault.
Yeah,
It is.
I've got to get it in there and have it to him so that he can get it published on Wednesday, because it has to be 14 days away, and I have to have that affidavit and all that stuff before they take it down to.
I appreciate it, because I didn't understand why it was being handled in a call meeting.
Yes, sir.
So, there are still properties, I guess, that are being assessed or something like that. So you're kind of assuming that the value of those properties will be the same or maybe more.
Well, that what they've done is the assessment, and that might be a question for your tax assessor board, and that's what they gave me is just what I have to work off of, and
This
I know
is where
that
they cut it off.
and that's yeah. So, and like I said, they've still got a lot of work to do, just like in our last meeting, they had, requested for a company to help them with their revaluations, and hopefully this time next year they're going to be completely finished with the whole county. And, this will be even different next year, so it just depends on what it looks like next year where we go with the millage rate, so.
So that would be the number they're turning into the state?
This would be, yeah, this is our number that would be, turned into the state, and, like I said, our 5-year history, I'll hand that over to, Brian, and ask for it to be published in the paper for the 14 days prior to, we actually set the millage rate, and it's gonna be, and we have to set our we have to do the whole millage rate as the levying authority. We're the last ones to go, you know, so the, school board will have to hold theirs first, and I think they're gonna call me on the 25th at early 5:30, something like that. We've set ours at 6 o'clock on the 25th is what we're gonna try to do, and, or what we are gonna do, so.
But we're discussing our millage rate, we're not setting any.
That,
No,
yeah,
we're
there's
not.
no millage
We
rate
don't-
being,
we don't
a
know that.
millage rate will not be set until we have everyone's numbers in. See, the school board has to bring me their millage rate after, you know, they tentatively set it. I can do the paperwork, we have to go through the advertisements, and then there will be a resolution set up with what the state millage rate is gonna be, which I think is 0.10, and our millage rate, the school board's millage rate, which will give you a final number of, what the total millage rate will be, and that's when we vote to set that millage rate as a whole.
Basically, what you're looking at here, 4794 is county.
That's all we're
County,
dealing with
not
today.
the school board or board of education.
Yes, yes.
That's on top of that.
Based on the numbers that we have available now, what would the rollback rate be to collect the exact same amount of taxes this year as last year?
Just,
4.794.
4.794 from 5.16.
And is that compared to what the Board of Education
It's
is?
within a few dollars, I think.
Oh, well, the Board of Education is totally different. You
Oh,
have
they're-
to, I
yeah.
mean, we use the same numbers, but with their calculations, they also have to factor in bond issues and different things like that. They've got a whole different, set of guidelines that they go by. We use the same base numbers, which is the tax digest that compiles all of the, real property, personal property, motor vehicles, timber, heavy-duty equipment, mobile homes, all of that. We use those base numbers, but then when they go from that point downward, then there are some other factoring issues that come into play where the Board of Education is. Ours is more straightforward, than them, so they have some other issues, and I don't know what theirs are. You would have to discuss that with them to see what they use
Well, let's-
to come to their final number and what their rollback would be.
Like I say, the last 5 years, ours has been 5.16, while last year's ours was 1390 or 1290
13.9, and they did an increase
Yeah,
from,
last year. So what that is, the total together, is what the village rate's gonna be.
See, they
Basically,
set
it's
their own millage
basically-
rate. We don't have anything
Right,
to
no.
do with what they do, so, and.
Right, but all
so
you do basically is approve it.
We just have
Yeah, we
to,
gotta approve it and collect the money for them.
we approve the final millage rate. They approve their millage rate. We approve, we advertise our millage rate. So when theirs is approved, then it's given to us, and we have to use
We-
their number. And we can't say, oh, well, we disagree with your number, go back to the drawing board. We cannot do that.
So if you wanted to check the increase or decrease, if anyone wants to know that, you take your complete digest, which was a billion, 500 million,
298.
Yeah.
298, 373.
and whatever the millage rate is, or whatever they proposed last night, you take what we were proposing today, and then you can see with your own numbers.
They didn't propose anything last night, did
They didn't, they won, it's 12.9, it went back.
they? 12.9, it went back and forth.
12.9, yes,
Good
and
deal,
it was approved.
good deal.
So
By
our
them.
overall millage rate, you know, tentatively, if you calculate in the 0.10 for the state, the 4.794 and the 12.90, you've got a,
17.794.
So that's your total millage rate. Anyone else?
So those are your, that's the dollars you're looking for. If you get more, you got sort of a windfall. If you get less, you're rock bottom.
Sorta.
well, and it would be.
There ain't been no windfall yet, so I hope, I'd love to see a windfall.
And we've always had really, really good luck with, I mean, our tax commissioners, you know, we've always collected in the upper 90% of our digest amounts. So, that's what I use to calculate our budgets on, and that's what we're in the middle of right now, and so I'm getting our revenues and projected revenues together right now to compare with what, it's been submitted to us for. And we are, like I said, that's nowhere near done yet. It's been submitted to the commissioners, but we haven't all been through it to see. We're probably, there's probably gonna be some places we need to cut, but.
Anyone else got anything? Mr. Johnson, you have a comment?
The only thing I want us to be very careful about is that, with the environment we've all went through this year with our tax situation, is that, with this rate, make sure that it stays very close to what we collected last year. So in turn, we're gonna have to watch, with budgetary issues this year, of who's needing what, and make sure that the money, is going to be there. So that's what I would advise, that we be very careful of this year, and make sure that we don't allow more than
What we're collecting.
than what we're
Yeah, we
collecting.
don't budget more than we collect.
We
right.
collect. One other thing, and it will
Story
be up
always.
to it will be up to our commissioners, and I'm hoping to have all numbers together and have revenue information for them. I'm working on it right now by the end of the day. But, after they get a chance to look at all of these numbers and all these figures compared to what revenue is going to be, that we'll be prepared to start setting our public hearings and workshops possibly on our budgets on Tuesday. At our meeting, we can announce maybe, workshops and public hearings on.
I for one would like to
Budget.
meet with each official on
And-
their budgets, their public hearing.
You don't have to.
This stuff it needs to be talked about if they're up or whatever,
And
what
y'all
they
direct
need.
me on how you wanna handle that, if you wanna handle that in a public hearing, or if you wanna do it individually, and I'll be happy to
I
set that
think
up.
we need to do it in a
It's up
public
to-
hearing.
Set it up for whatever y'all decide to do, and we don't have to decide that
Let's
today.
put
You can
it-
just
I'll
let me-
say it like this: anybody who's wanting more when they do it in a public hearing, anybody who's wanting to cut their budget, we'll just do it.
They don't care, yeah.
So if you're wanting more,
According to this, we're gonna have a budget, we're gonna have a open hearing.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's,
We need to, I think it's time to do that.
so if they don't wanna talk to the public, either keep it the same or lower it.
Yeah,
And if they
I think
want more
everybody's
money,
willing
they
to,
need to come
because
up there and
I've
tell everybody why
had,
they need it.
I've actually had several of the department heads say, just let me know when to
Okay.
be prepared.
Like I said,
The only
we'll have a
one.
public hearing.
Yeah, I kind of figured that.
So, when do you anticipate putting the actual tax bills out in the mail?
See, that's not my, that's gonna be a Ms. Thosby question.
It'll-
And I think.
They gotta
she's
have it
anticipating-
approved, but through Atlanta first and then all
I
that
think,
sort
I
of
think
thing.
they're anticipating a mid-October,
Yeah,
run,
I think it's October 20-something.
something, so.
Anybody else? Matt, you got anything else you wanna talk about?
I'm good.
And I do think this will be a work in progress for next year too.
Oh, yes.
I mean, because
Yes.
they're still doing a lot of work in there.
Right.
I don't want everybody to think, oh, this is done and over with. We've still got a lot of things to do in the next year, and hopefully by the end of next year, would you say that we're gonna start at that time really seeing what, because to me, the way I
We'll
look
see
at
how
all
it
this,
shakes
it's
out.
a
Yeah.
set of scales.
Yeah,
You've got your value of your county, and once we get a true value of our county, then we can set a true millage rate that we can all live with. And, but it's been so.
and it will be a continuation from year to year after that. I think their biggest hurdle is getting through till about March or April of next year, when they get GMAS, in here, and they do the mass reevaluation, and then they're gonna have an up-to-date, across the board reassessed county. We will have a total reassessed county. And at that point, when they start working on this digest again in April, May, June, all of that next year, then these numbers will change again. I mean, our whole digest will change again. And then we'll see where we go from there. Hopefully we're gonna be in a about the same or a little bit, or look, and better,
We're still gonna be in the same range like we were last year, like the 34, 35. You know, we have to be at 40%.
once they get
Yeah,
this
the
done, we should
sales
fall
ratio.
right in.
In other words, maybe no fine this
No
year.
fines, and this is the.
Look like it's gonna be real
Yeah,
close.
yeah.
So this year, we're looking at maybe,
Well,
Or we might
if we have a fine, it will be based on because of what took place last year, it won't be on
Okay,
what
all right.
is going on here, but from this point forward, we should be out of the fine situation, so.
Did anyone else got anything? Marty,
No, I'm just listening here, what's going on.
Lane, you got anything else? Roseanne?
I'll have one more.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, there are a lot of areas in the county that, as this county grows, that might need some expansion or improvement, roads being one, you know, so you're looking next year to maybe have some funds available to help other departments that have held back on their budget more or less, sheriff's department, you know.
You mean we got a fund balance left to take up
Yeah,
the slack? Yeah.
Fund them, you know, you're looking to have more money left for
We hope so.
infrastructure type things as well.
See, the thing is, this budget is not as simple and quick as it might think. I mean, last year we had to go out and buy 300 tons of salt and that sort of thing. People working 3 or 4 days straight for the snow. You don't know what the weather's gonna do to you. It's just like every weekend, it rains and have a little storm come through it, blows a bunch of trees over the road, so guys gotta come out. Some of this is kind of guesstimate, but we're hoping that we guessed it right and make sure we have enough money. So, but we do have, like I say, we'll have a little fund balance maybe to cover some that come up short.
How much of a contingency fund do you usually keep for items like this?
They recommend that we try to keep 3 months operating expense. And we're not quite there yet on
We
3
don't,
months.
we don't have quite the 3 months.
What is 3 months? How much is that dollar-wise?
3 months operating expense, you talk about,
Well,
you got payroll, you got insurance, you got fuel, you got
Dollar amount.
What's the dollar amount?
probably $3 million.
yeah, right
Three-
at, maybe not quite 3 million, but it costs the county about
Million.
$1 million a month to operate. So that's, some months it's a little more, some months it's a little less, but when you average it out, it's about $1 million a month, to operate.
And just like everything else, insurance, everything going up. It's, like I say, you don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring. And as far as fuel, Mr. Johnson had a good idea. Come to find out, these guys have been, any bid anybody gives you no better than 30 days. Some days that stuff's changes every day. We might buy today, and tomorrow it go in the tank, or go down 10, 15 cents a gallon, that sort of thing. We are working on that, and that's a thing we're looking into, and that's a complicated thing too. I didn't realize all that. I didn't realize there's a time limit or a temperature thing. Above 60 degrees, a 7,000 gallon tank, you'll lose 139 gallons. And anything below 60 degrees, you'll gain 139 gallons. Now that don't make sense to me, but anyway, they say that's been proven.
Since we're on that topic, and this is just a suggestion for the 3 of you or the 4 of you, my brothers buy 50,000 gallons of propane a year. They're farmers and they run a crop dryer, and from September through November, they burn 50,000 gallons of propane. They buy that propane and prepay it in the summer when the spot price is way down. I mean, yes, they have to buy it on a futures price, but they buy it and prepay it in the summer. I don't know that the county could do that with the gasoline and the fuel, but that would be worth looking at for the propane.
Wouldn't you have to have storage tanks?
No, they deliver as needed. My brothers only have 4,000 gallons of storage. Propane trucks in there
So
every
it's
day.
contracted, basically. It
They
is
contract
okay.
it, they
Yeah.
prepay it,
Yeah.
Just
and
like
Well,
you do at your
50,000
home.
gallons, or, I mean, I'm not trying
Whatever
to
you buy.
belittle anything, but 50,000 gallons is nothing. The Fannin County, the Board
Propane.
of Education, the
propane.
county, that is nothing really to what
Our propane.
something.
Yeah, so that means
God.
it's nothing, so that means we should be getting her a lot cheaper.
Yeah, well,
Just
I'm
we buy so
I'm
much.
suggesting that that
We
avenue
don't
is
buy
out
enough,
there.
that's the thing.
And you know, propane's always cheaper, the spot price and the future prices are always cheaper in the summertime.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the city of Blue Ridge just got a price for $1.53 from Appalachian Propane.
I
is
said,
what-
I read that.
And I'm not exactly sure, as soon as I leave this meeting, we'll find out what we've paid. So that'd be a good judge right there.
Yeah,
$1.53 is cheap.
But-
And I'm
but-
pretty sure that they don't burn nowhere near as much as the county would.
I know when I buy my personal propane this time of year, it's usually $1.50, $1.60. And I only have a 1,000 gallon tank that I fill once a year. But that's an avenue that the county government, I would think, would have open to them because A, you can predict about how much propane you're gonna burn every year. And B, you have the money to go ahead and prepay it.
And the fuel it's more complicated. And the best luck I have when I call and get our spot prices on it is the best way you can find is if it's a huge supplier and they've paid so much from the terminal, if they've paid $2 a gallon for that gasoline, okay, and gas is on the decline. Like right now, gas is at a couple of year low right now,
Right.
so we don't need to be hearing anybody saying fuel's costing more because fuel's going down. It's costing my company more than everybody's company, or costing my company less than everybody else's company less. With fuel, what you want to do is catch that supplier that didn't have so much on hand at the time it starts decreasing. Because,
Charge that
yeah,
previous price.
because they got to get $2 a gallon out of that fuel
No matter.
regardless. It's like a lumber supplier. When wood's going down, you want to get that guy who didn't have a bunch right in stock. And that's how we kind of work around. You know, and in my podunk company, you know, it may save us $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year just calling different suppliers. But
Every time you
but
order.
it is $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000, and then on this scale, if we could get a system worked out with purchasing, because you make your money or you save your money when you buy it, not when you burn it.
Right.
It's like property. You make your money when you buy a property, not when you sell it. And so I think if we could get a system in place to where we find that cheapest, right now, if it's gonna stabilize or start declining, it's not as big of an issue for the county, I don't think. But what we have to watch is when it starts increasing.
Going the other way.
And we know it's gonna increase one day. And that's when we need to be smart, because with the county, I mean, we can save thousands of dollars.
The problem, I think, though, is the county's local legislation, and I know we're off topic, we're not talking about budget, so if you want to stop me and send this to
Well,
the
we're gonna
Tuesday
stop
night
in a few
meeting.
minutes anyway.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The local legislation requires anything over 15 grand to be put out for bid, and it's just not feasible for you guys to run an advertised bid in the legal Oregon once a week for a load of diesel fuel. I would look at advertising for an annual contract with a provider that will quote you so many pennies over the spot price for that day, plus freight. And, you know, some bid sequence along those lines.
There's a program on Google, it's Oil Price Information Service. It's a service you can, I think it costs $1,300, and you get this price at 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock, so
Yeah.
forth and so on.
Well, the reason I say use the spot price, the spot price in Atlanta is that's an
That is
advertised
Atlanta area.
gasoline and diesel fuel
That
price.
is all Atlanta area, I'm sure, you get on Google. I think I went on that, it's $1,300 annually, right?
Yeah, you gotta have that.
But there is an index, a published index somewhere that tells you what the spot price is in Atlanta or Charlotte or Durham. And being
And
close as we
there's
are.
branded fuel and there's
Yeah.
outlaw fuel and,
And you know that I used to haul that stuff, so I know a little bit about fuel.
okay.
You guys may not have known this. In a different life, I drove a gasoline tanker.
Is that what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I'm crazy.
That fumes?
Huffing gas, but,
That hose running in the door.
You had a hose in your truck, not in the tank, man.
but, in
Oh,
that,
Lord.
in that different life, one of the things that customers like you, that the fuel and the gas that you're getting is not coming from the jobber that you buy it from. That truck is picking it up in Doraville or Chattanooga and bringing it straight to you.
Yeah. And then there's different jobbers. Mansfield, I think it is.
Yeah, Mansfield Oil.
Yeah. They're just a super jobber, so to speak. They sell to Jones Oil and people like it. It's interesting. It really is. I learned a lot here last couple of days.
I worked for Conoco for years, and we had a lot of jobbers that we delivered to, but we had a lot of end users that we delivered to also.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, the only difference between outlaw gas, as Earl's calling it, and branded, most of the time the branded gas has got a little additive in it to keep the injectors clean.
That's it. That's all it is.
That's usually the only difference. The gas that comes through the pipeline, it's gas.
Yeah, they don't segregate it out in the pipeline. It all comes down, they drop it.
Texaco might have bought their gas from a refinery in Louisiana today and maybe in Houston tomorrow.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if nobody's got anything else, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Like a muck.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Thanks for coming, folks.